Hello, welcome to Monster Manager. When you first start, you'll see two icons, the monster list and the encounter list. Currently, both are empty. You can mute the game and unmute it. There's also a credits page. To create a monster, open the monster list and hit new. You can cycle different colors for the banner. This is really for running an encounter with a whole bunch of monsters where you probably don't need all of their stats. But for this demonstration, I'm going to build a Dungeon World character. I probably won't build the whole character. Just give you an idea. So these buttons represent checkboxes, constants, current and normals, text, and dice. So constants are like your stats or the monster stats. The shouldn't really change during the encounter. Current normals are for like hit points. Where maybe you have 11 hit points normally, and you have 11 hit points currently, and during the game you will probably adjust your current but not your normal. Checkbox for one-shot things or statuses like prone. You can also delete any of these stats and move them around. You can actually move them off the character sheet, but for right now I'll just put everything up here. I don't need a checkbox. Let's see. So text is for like descriptions. Let's see. Ambitious. Hopefully I'm not misspelling anything. Tathamon is an ambitious evil snake man. Traveling priest of the cult of Karsuit. You can have multiple text if you've got more information. This text can hold about 4 lines. And there's dice. For Dungeon World, we normally use 2d6s. Oops. maybe for damage, I would roll a d10 and add 2 for my strength modifier. So here's just a generic double d6, but maybe I'd put this here to represent rolling with strength or rolling damage. You can also add modifiers to this, so maybe this is my damage and this is my rolling with strength. Oops, and this is my rolling with dex. There's also d6 and d8, d4, d6, d8, d10, d12, d20, d100, d6, 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 d8 for barbarians. And that's the basics. There's also this symbol here. You can use the color and this symbol to group things. I like to use this symbol to represent if the creature is alive or dead. And we'll get into that here in a moment. Anyways, we back out, and now we have Tathamon. And we can edit him more. We can also copy him. So this is Tathamon. And it is Tathamon's annoying sister. Yeah, there we go. Trying not to embarrass myself too much. Anyways, so now we have Tathamon and Tathbamon. You can also delete them. Let's just go ahead and copy and make orc. And orcs are going to be purple. Alright, so now we have Tathamon and an orc. So let's create an encounter. This is Town Gate. Alright. And Tathamon is there at the town gate. And so are 4 orcs. Alright. And we can change the color and name of this encounter too. You can similarly copy encounters, say dungeon, and let's make that a darker color. Yeah, and maybe there's only 2 orcs in the dungeon. And you can delete encounters. And finally, you can see there's still just the monster list, which is sort of like your bestiary that you can pull monsters from, and your encounter list, where you can pull encounters from. If you want to actually run one of these encounters, you hit run. Alright, so now this is its own encounter, separate from the sort of template encounter. Alright, for instance, we can go in here now and see these display a little bit differently in display mode. So all the constants are constants, and now we can hurt these orcs as they take damage. And if they die, we can update that. Alright, and so now you can see when I click away that this orc has been updated to a dead category. Let's say this orc is rolling with strength. He rolls a 13. That's pretty good. does 2 damage. Oh, well, I guess this description isn't adequate anymore. You can also change his name and his color here, so I don't know, maybe this orc is mind controlled now. So now he's the mind controlled orc. Let's see, Tathamon stats here. All right. So this is the active encounter list. And now you can go directly to that encounter. You can also change the name of the encounter here. So Town Gate Session 1. So we still have the Town Gate encounter. We can add more new Town Gate encounters, or but we can still run the existing encounter. The new encounter is sort of a copy of the template, so it's back to everything where we set it originally. You can even go in and delete this encounter from the encounter list, and we still can run these copies. And when you're done, of course, you can delete them. Similarly with monsters, we can create an encounter. And we can go ahead and delete this template if we want. Though, really, this is for like generic things. You'd want to create orcs, snakes, goblins, things like that, and then fill out sort of a dictionary of encounters, a portfolio of encounters for you to use in your games. Right? So now we don't have any monsters in our list, but we can still, it doesn't get rid of the monsters in here. So let's say we want giant snake. Right? I like making reptiles green. And we don't need all the stats of the snake. Let's just say, check mark. Gaze attack. This snake has a gaze attack, which it'll use once. So we will use that check mark to decide if it's already used its gaze attack. All right, let's say hit points. And the snake rolls a d10 plus 2 for its damage. That's really most of what you need, and some cool text. Guards the pit of scales. And now we have a giant snake. We can add him to our encounters. And this orc dies. So I imagine, as a GM, you'd run through this encounter and you would track his hit points, occasionally roll for his damage, use his gaze attack, and then kill him off. And you could reuse this encounter multiple times. You could put a whole bunch of monsters in here, and use that. Or you could just have a whole bunch of different encounters for bands of orcs, uh, bands of snake cultists, goblins, and whatnot. And you can have this screen open um, while you're playing over voice chat in Discord. There is going to be a phone version of this app. I'm just making sure everything scales and is usable, making sure all these buttons are easy to use by fingers taps. But that will come out shortly.